Hey, this is Frank Honus, and I want to welcome you to the Pure Life Podcast, your weekly dose of encouragement, inspiration, and practical tips for living with sexual integrity through Jesus Christ. This week on the podcast, I want to talk about 3 landmarks to be thankful for in sexual recovery. We just finished Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday this year. But as I was thinking about this week's podcast, I thought about some things, obviously, that I'm thankful for in this season of my life in recovery, in sexual recovery, recovery from a sexual addiction. And I wanted to talk about 3 landmarks to be thankful for in sexual recovery. And so, I thought about this whole idea of whenever we're traveling, landmarks are typically, very spectacular sights that we stop along the trip to observe and marvel at. Landmarks are special because they take time to discover. We really can't visit every single landmark, even in a day, in a week, a month, or even sometimes even in a year. It takes time. But landmarks are special. Landmarks are things that we should remember. They're monuments. They're memories. They're things that we should never, ever forget. And if you spent any time in sexual recovery, hopefully you've discovered some very important growth points along the way in your life, in your journey towards sexual healing and sexual freedom. And I like to call these points along the journey landmarks. These are places that we need to stop. And these are the stops along the way that really you need to stand back and you need to just take it in. There's times in our recovery we need to really take time to acknowledge the significance of landmarks, of growth points, of stops along the way. So I want to share with you 3 of those landmarks very quickly this week on the podcast. Number 1, there's people. There's people. This is a major landmark in sexual recovery. This is like healthy people, okay? Healthy people like accountability partners, support groups, coaches, and mentors are incredibly paramount to your recovery from sex addiction. Here's the truth, is that you cannot win by yourself. You can't find healing, you can't find freedom, you can't find wholeness, sexual wholeness, and so you shouldn't try to do it alone. And so people are a part of your life. Healthy people need to be a part of your life. And healthy people, like the ones I mentioned, are an incredible landmark that, as I think about my life, have been an incredible landmark in finding healing and recovery from sex addiction. So number 1 is people. Number 2 is progress. Every single decision you make, every single website you visit, every single person you talk to, or place that you go matters. Progress is made as you do what I call the work necessary in recovery. It's finding accountability, putting systems in place, filtering software on your computer, things like that, and understanding your triggers, et cetera, et cetera. All those kinds of things are progress, different kinds of progress that you make. And the work that you do, and as you do that work, you make progress. And so it's very, very important to be able to stand back and take a look at the progress that you've made in your life, because you are making progress. You are making strides, and you're growing in recovery. And so I say this all the time, but you need to always remember that sexual recovery is a long-term process. It's a long-term process. It takes time. And so progress will come. Health and healing will come as you grow and as you like I said, as you do the work of sexual recovery. And so the very last landmark I want to share with you is purpose. So we've got people, progress, and the last one we need to really stand back and look at, I think, in our lives is purpose. I believe that there is an incredibly genuine purpose for every sex addict. I believe that with all my heart. I think that our souls long for purpose. We long to do something great in life. And so as you find healing, you'll discover how you can use your story to help other people. As you recover, as you find freedom and healing, as you begin to not just abstain from the behavior, but as you also find healing for your soul, for your heart, your mind, your thoughts, God, and I just want to end on this note that God will redeem your pain and He will grant you purpose through your struggles. There's your pain, the pain that you go through, the struggle that you go through, it all has a purpose. And so these are the landmarks that I think we need to stand back and realize, that we need to stand back and look to, that we need to remember as we walk in sexual recovery. And these are three landmarks that I'm so thankful for this year in my 5th year of recovery. I'm thankful for people. I'm thankful for the progress that I'm making, and I'm thankful for the purpose that God has given me to share my story with other people who struggle with sexual addictions. And I'm thankful that He uses this podcast. So until next week, my name is Frank Honus. Have an incredible week, and we'll see you next week on the Pure Life Podcast. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the podcast this week. I want to encourage you to check out our website, purelifepodcast.com, for a lot of great blogs and resources and podcasts from previous episodes to help you along in your journey for sexual purity. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on our website, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. And if you need to contact me for any reason, if you have questions or comments, email me at frank@purelifepodcast.com. That's frank@purelifepodcast.com. See you next week.